It's really incredible that more than 20 years after Rachel Carson wrote Silent Spring, the image of which was a secret poison in the environment, harming people, things that you couldn't see, causing serious risk to human health and to the environment, which led to the adoption of the laws that are supposed to regulate pesticides in the United States. We still have this enormous hidden world of secret poisons out there that are virtually unregulated by any government agency.
Have you ever looked at a pesticide label, like on this fungicide? Have you ever noticed that many pesticides consist almost entirely of chemicals labeled inert ingredients? This fungicide, for instance, consists of 85.5% inert ingredients. Do you know that our government and the chemical companies say you have no right to know what these so-called inert ingredients are, even though some are highly toxic? But you're not the only one being kept in the dark. Whenever your state sprays pesticides from a helicopter, for instance to kill medflies or mosquitoes, the state doesn't know which chemicals it's spraying. Your school district doesn't know which toxic chemicals it's spraying around your children at school. Farmers don't even know which toxic chemicals they're adding to your food, like cherries and strawberries. The active ingredients on the label tell you what chemicals in the pesticide are intended to kill the fungi. But under this term, inert ingredients, the label hides from you all the other chemicals in the pesticide. The solvents, spreaders, anti-drift agents, or emulsifiers. These secret ingredients often make up most of the pesticide, and they can be more toxic than the so-called active ingredient. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, has produced a list of about 1,400 chemicals they say can be called inert ingredients in pesticides. But the EPA says that the chemical companies don't have to tell you which of these 1,400 chemicals are in which pesticides. We know some of the secret ingredients are toxic. Naphthalene, for instance, damages red blood cells. It is particularly toxic to infants. Toluene causes nerve damage in humans. Glycol ethers cause birth defects. We don't know which pesticides contain these chemicals. Take Roundup, for instance, a widely used lawn pesticide. We learned about one of the secret ingredients in Roundup when some Japanese emergency room physicians wrote a letter in an American medical journal. They wrote that the people who became sick after exposure to Roundup were in reality poisoned by one of the secret ingredients in Roundup, POEA. POEA is far more toxic than the chemical that is listed on the label. While we know some secret ingredients are toxic, we don't know much at all about the toxicity of most of the secret ingredients. The EPA does not require anybody to test these chemicals to see which ones cause birth defects, or brain damage, or cancer, or reproductive damage, or other major health problems. The serious problems with secret pesticide ingredients brought a group of scientists and attorneys from around the country to Eugene, Oregon. At that meeting, we discussed the problems of secret ingredients and planned ways to break that secrecy. Ralph Lightstone recalled an incident in which the inert ingredients in a pesticide caused illness among some citrus workers.
Yeah, in 1986, in the orange harvest in California, there were 114 workers who were fairly severely poisoned as a result of exposure to a pesticide, caused chemical burns on their faces and their hands and so on. And what had happened is the company had used a new, quote, inert ingredient in the pesticide. That inert ingredient prevented the pesticide from degrading to a safe level quickly. Instead, it stayed toxic for a much longer period of time. The company did that by design. It wanted, in fact, it advertised to the growers, use this pesticide, the poison will stay effective in the orange trees longer to control the pest. What they didn't analyze, and what the government didn't analyze when they accepted this new formulation, was that it was going to be dangerous to workers longer.
I remembered another story.
There's an area in Iowa called the Big Spring Basin where the only activities that go on above ground in that area are agricultural activities. So if you find human-added contaminants in the groundwater coming out of the Big Spring Basin, you know that those contaminants have come from activities above ground. And what Iowa has found is some chemicals such as xylene and toluene in the water coming out of the Big Spring Basin, and they know that has to be from pesticides that were put on the ground up above, because there's no other activity other than agricultural activities going on in that area. But xylene and toluene aren't pesticide active ingredients on a label. Those are inert ingredients.